Hello again, welcome back to the channel. And guys, this is my third time trying to do this, and uh, darn it, I'm going to do it. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe I'm trying to be prevented from sharing this, but I'm going to get this out there. I think it's crucial. And I'm going to talk about the corrupt spirits of narcissism on this video and the next. And the first one I'm going to cover is Jezebel. So don't miss this one and don't miss the next one. I'm not going to tell you what the next one is. You have to wait. It's really cool, though, and you probably haven't really thought much of it. But this one is Jezebel. So we all talk about, the narcissist has the spirit of Jezebel. Ooh. Well, it's true. But what is the spirit of Jezebel? So basically, go back to the Old Testament. Jezebel was a Phoenician princess, and she became, through her seductive nature, we infer, the wife of King Ahab. So she's a pagan. She becomes the wife of what's supposed to be a God-fearing, Yahweh-fearing king in Israel named Ahab. But Ahab was corrupt, as was his dad and everybody surrounding him, basically as kings, as was so often the case. And also so often the case, he falls victim to a pagan wife, which he specifically commanded, as were the other Israelites, to not uh, bind yourself with pagan wives or husbands. But he did. So that was often the practice, and this had disastrous consequences. So what she basically did is she sort of introduced slash reintroduced this type of Baal worship into Israel. She was able to convince King Ahab and through proclamations and different acts, she's able to convince a lot of Israel to worship Baal and to defy Yahweh. So, in addition to that, which is bad enough, she was on a crusade to kill the prophets. So she kills many prophets in her day and leads to their demise. And she also wages spiritual war against Elijah and Elisha, two of God's greatest prophets in the Old Testament and really ever. In fact, so she was prophesied that she was going to be eaten by dogs. That's how she would die. And that did actually come to pass in about, I think, 843 ish. She was, in fact, killed, eaten by dogs. So basically, her role in the Old Testament was to rev people up against Yahweh, to defy God. There's the spirit of rebellion that's intrinsic in Jezebel, but there's also this spirit of kind of seduction that it's not as clearly described in the Old Testament as you might like, but there's a lot of things we can kind of infer that lead us to that. So it's inferred she seduces Ahab. It's also inferred later on because of a text I'm going to get to. But basically, the Old Testament, she's a disaster. She is leading to strife within Israel. She's killing prophets. She's persecuting God's greatest prophets of the time. She's leading the country astray into the worship of false gods. Well, it wasn't just an historical figure. Go forward into Revelation 2. This is in 2:20, and John talks about Jezebel as existing in the New Testament. So clearly, we're not talking about the same person, but what we can infer once again is that we're talking about the spirit motivating Jezebel. It's this Jezebel spirit that transcends the person. This is not uncommon. This happens all the time in the Bible. Take Babylon, for instance. You start with the Tower of Babel, and what is created in this early civilization after the flood, and people repopulate. They congregate in this place called Babel, and they build a tower to the sky where they're basically in, guess what? Defiance to God, against God. They're going to make a name for themselves. And as we read later in Josephus, the Jewish historian, he talks about the fact that the Tower of Babel was actually built because they were going to try to make a tower so great that it would not be able to be demolished the next time God flooded the earth. So basically, they were going to stand in defiance. They were going to even thwart the plans of God if he ever wanted to to send another flood. So, I mean, this is evil stuff. Anyway, that becomes Babylon, as we know later. Babylon destroys Judah, the southern kingdom of Israel, in about 586, and they destroy the temple of God, which was where Yahweh lived, That was where his presence was housed. So they destroy the temple of God. They destroy Judah. They take people captive back to Babylon. And that sends the people into what is called exile. Well, from there, Babylon goes on to stand for basically the most evil empire imaginable. Even at the end in Revelation, John talks about Babylon as being the ultimate evil that comes at the end of the world, which I interpret kind of as a global empire or the system of the beast, that sort of thing. I wrote a book about that, System of the Beast. Shameless plug. Anyway, but that's not the point of this. Babylon stands for the ultimate evil empire. Well, Jezebel is very much the same kind of thing. She's an archetype. She stands as a head, as a figure that existed in history that then transcends history. And she comes to epitomize a rebellious spirit against God. She comes to epitomize idolatry, um, cruelty, a mean-spirited person, one that leads people astray and off their purpose, their God-given purpose. And as John talks about in Revelation, Jezebel was there again leading the church and to participate in sexual immorality. There we go. There's the connection, sexual immorality, and sacrificing food to idols. So there's a lot of different things going on there with Jezebel. So I hope that that is a little bit of a recap for who this person is. Well, let's fast forward. Now when we say the narcissist has a Jezebel spirit in them, you get what that means. The narcissist comes to kill, to destroy, to persecute God's people, to persecute people of the light, to take people of the light and lead them off their path and off their purpose. And there's many functions. So there's this rebelliousness or this disobedient behavior that comes with what we'd say the spirit of Jezebel is. It's that same spirit type of demonic power, so to speak, that is present within the narcissist. Both male and female, although there's a little bit more of a female connection to it because Jezebel was, of course, a female. But basically it epitomizes rebellion, leading people of God against God. It's that power that wants to consume. So it wants to consume your life. It wants to consume your purpose. It wants to absolutely subvert everything God does, introduce false gods into the mix. Jezebel was Baal, but guess what? Any god that is not Yahweh, Jesus Christ, is of the devil. There's not a whole bunch of false gods. There are two deities, so to speak, that you can worship. The Bible talks about it clearly in the New Testament as well, because it calls Satan the god of this age. If you were worshiping Baal in the Old Testament, you were worshiping Satan. If you were worshiping Moloch, you were worshiping Satan. If you're worshiping anything of the world, you're worshiping Lucifer or Satan. That is chiefly what the Jezebel spirit wants to do. Gets you to worship false deities. I've told you guys a million times, I'm going to keep saying it, and many of you know it. The narcissist is a satanic foot soldier. They are on assignment to do that very thing. It's not playing around with these people. It's no joke. They come to destroy not just your physical life, but they chiefly want to destroy your eternity. They want your soul. And that's exactly what happened with Jezebel in the Old Testament. How many people did she lead away? How many people did she help to condemn for all eternity by leading them away from Yahweh and into the arms of the fake, false, evil deity Baal? It's not messing around with these people, guys. This is why we talk about the fact that you need to get away from them. This is why the Bible is clear. Another guy left a comment just the other day I was reading, and he was so right on, and I talk about this a lot too. The Bible commands us to get away from these people. If you're using the Bible as an excuse, well, it tells us to be forgiving, to love our neighbor. These are not the same thing as staying attached to a wicked, evil person who wants to devour you. People use the Bible to say, well, I'm still in this, I'm still praying, and I'm holding their hand, and I'm working with the narcissist, because they can change, and God calls us to do this for people. No, actually, it's the opposite. If you know you're dealing with a toxic person, chiefly a narcissist, it specifically says to get rid of them. Numerous places, but if you don't believe me, go to 2 Timothy 3:5. It says specifically, after it talks about narcissists, every detail, every point that they are and their characteristics, says avoid such a person or avoid such people. So the Jezebel spirit is within the narcissist, and it's that rebellious spirit that wants to take you off your path, your purpose, to devour, to take your soul. There's another thing about it, though. This is a huge one with the narcissist. It is that sexual, flaunty, flirtatious, charismatic spirit within them. That very adorned and dressed up and dolled up seductress. That's the Jezebel. Now, you guys have noticed this. Think about your narcissist or narcissists if you had multiple. God forbid. I hope not, but some of you have. Um, they come very much in this very charismatic, alluring. That's the best word I have, is alluring. Meaning you can't really pinpoint why you like them. When I first met the narcissist, and I'm not kidding you, when I first met this person, I was so taken in and drawn in by her. I've never experienced it in my life. Well, why? Was she beautiful? No, she wasn't. She was pretty average, to be honest. I talk to a lot of people who will tell me, I can't really believe I was with this person. They weren't even attractive. Like, not really. I was just so captivated, just drawn in. Well, I get it, because I was too. This is that charisma that they have. They can smile and they can joke and they can draw you in like a bee to honey, or however that saying goes. I can never get that one right. Anyway, they draw you in a supernatural way. That's because they have the Jezebel spirit in them. They're not functioning the way a normal person does. If you were drawn in, and I'm sure you were, to that narcissist, you can understand it wasn't a natural feeling. I didn't have the same attraction to her that I did to a normal person that I've ever met in my life. It didn't feel that way. At first, I was mistaken because I thought it was more of a supernatural attraction in a good way. God was bringing this person into my life. They were showing me everything I wanted to see. I was so drawn into this person. That's because it wasn't good, it was evil. That was a person who had the Jezebel spirit within them, there to allure, to trap, to trick. And man, they're tough to get away from, and they're tough to avoid, and you're going to notice them. You've also thought of, so let's talk about the overt or the grandiose narcissist that walks around with often that big cocky smile all the time. Like they're so sure of themselves. They're so confident. You want to be with me. Everybody wants to be with me. And a lot of people buy into it. A lot of people are snookered by someone who thinks they're all that in a bag of chips. To take something from the 90s. So they're drawn into it. If that person thinks they're so great, then man, they must be great. Oh, what a joke. There's nobody who's more insecure, who is less sure of themselves, less confident, less being with than the grandiose narcissist. But the covert narcissist has the same deal, but it's covert. It's more hidden. Their little smiles draw you in. Their little comments, the little sweet things that they can say. They just have, I don't know how else to describe it, a seductive, charismatic personality. If you're a guy drawn to the covert narcissist female, it's insatiable. You can't get enough. You cannot possibly be around that person. Again, I just talked to a guy on a one-on-one session not too long ago, and he was telling me, I don't know why I was attracted to this person. She was, not to be mean, she was almost white trash. I get it, because there's something supernatural. There's just something crazy about it. So guys, this is what the narcissistic spirit really is. It's one of them. It's Jezebel. Jezebel is that seductress. Jezebel is that one that lives in disobedience to God. They want to get you off your purpose. They want to lead you to hell with them. They'll persecute anybody that's in their path, just like Jezebel did. She'll stop at nothing to destroy the man or woman that he or she is with. They'll stop at nothing to derail everyone around them. And you know, Jezebel in the Old Testament did that. It wasn't just King Ahab. She derailed everybody around her. She was a walking vortex of evil. As I've said before, the narcissist is. They are literally a vortex that goes throughout the world, just sucks everybody in. You can attest to this. The narcissist wasn't just devastating to your life. They were probably devastating to their kids, their good friends, so to speak. Not that they have good friends. Anybody that got close to them, they burned, they sizzled. That's like Jezebel. So when we throw around the word and say, oh, the narcissist has this Jezebel spirit, what do we really mean? I hope that this is making some sense of things. Guys, and this is why I'm going to hit this again before I end this video. You cannot fall victim to this anymore. If you're with this person, you think the Bible's trying to describe to you, or you've reasoned in your own head, I've got to stick this out. I've got to make sure this person changes. It's my duty. It's my duty to be with them. Yes, they're destroying me and they're destroying my spiritual life, and I could be condemned at the end. I could stand before Christ and he could say, depart from me. I never knew you because I'm attached to a evil demonic person. But I just can't leave them. I can't give up on them. I'm not supposed to give up on them. Yes, you are. You're commanded to give up on them. Commanded. If you've never heard this before, you have a absolute license biblically, and not only a license, a command to get away from these people. If you're with somebody, or even it's a brother, a sister, a parent, Lord forbid, a child, if they are taking you down the swirling vortex to hell with them, or you even feel like that might be happening, cut them out of your life. Get Jezebel out of your life. One Jezebel can ruin a nation. One Jezebel can ruin your life, your household, everybody around you, and not just in this life, but in the world to come. So guys, I hope that you really do listen to my plea. Don't mess around with these people. They do have demonic spirits attached to them. And let me tell you one more thing while I'm thinking of it, because this is interesting. That same spirit, demonic, satanic spirit that was with Jezebel in the Old Testament, it's the same exact thing that's with the one you were with or are with or have met. It's the same thing. That is why, on another video I talked about, the narcissist sometimes seems like they're so immature and childlike, and in other ways, it's like they've been here forever. They're mature beyond anything you can understand. They're like butter scraped over too much bread. They just seem worn out and very thin and like they're just ancient. That's because they have ancient spirits attached to them, and one of them is the Jezebel spirit. Guys, avoid them like the plague. Know what you're dealing with. If you don't think it's spiritual, you have every right to be wrong. So I've heard this many, many times. I thought it was funny. You do, though. If you don't think it's spiritual, you're wrong. I pray you wake up to it. Because if you're not fighting the narcissistic battle with spiritual armor, then you're going to fail. You are. You have to come to Christ. You have to fight the battle you have to understand the battle for what it is. So you're going to war with the Jezebel spirit and many others. All right, guys. So this is the first one. But next video, please tune in because I want to talk about another spirit that's attached to the narcissist that is way less known and I think maybe even way more intriguing. So stay tuned for that one. I'll have it out in a few days. Until then, drop comments. I love to hear from you guys. I hope you found this interesting. I will come at you with another one. Until then, God bless.